Howdy, everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. It's Monday, June 23rd, 2025.
Great to be back.
We're tuning in from Academia BSB, the online English school for all you folks in Brazil ready to really master English.
We believe it's more than just learning words, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's about opening up your world. It's about, communicating effectively, using English in your life at work.
And today we're taking a special look inside our English Conversations course. We're diving into the latest class notes from group T247.
That's right. Douglas, Mario, and Chago, they're doing fantastic work, really getting a handle on that CEFRL level A2.
They really are.
So our mission today, folks, is to unpack a really vital skill, giving your opinions and, defending your ideas clearly, confidently.
Ah, yes. Super important. And it's not just for, passing tests, right?
Not at all. This is real-life stuff. Applying English, it really shows how our unique approach here at Academia BSB works, helping students use the language.
Exactly. So we've got a pretty dynamic deep dive planned. We're really focusing on that theme of should, must, might, pros and cons.
We'll look at language for expressing yourself, some common idioms.
The fun stuff.
Yeah. And how the students tackled some writing and, of course, pronunciation and speaking pace.
Crucial elements.
So settle back, maybe grab a sweet tea, because we're about to tune into some genuine communication wisdom straight from our classrooms.
Okay, so if you want to defend your ideas, well, first you need the right words, right, to share your thoughts.
Makes sense.
And our students, they worked on exactly that, those phrases that help you state your position clearly, whether you're being firm or maybe just suggesting something.
Right. And, the way you say it matters, too. The intonation.
Totally.
Let's try a little role play. Imagine, say, a neighbor complaining about some bad influence nearby. How might you respond? Straightforward, assertive tone. All pets should be registered. It's for the common good.
Calm, analytical tone. This work must be done by a private company working for the government.
Okay, different scenario. Maybe more questioning, suggesting.
Got it.
Curious, open tone. There should be more work positions to be filled by volunteers, don't you think?
Thoughtful, observational tone. This technology already exists. We might consider using it.
See? Different feel. And then there's the more personal angle.
Yeah, sharing your own perspective.
Conversational, personal tone. My take on it is, it takes a lot of time to train a dog.
Relatable, personal tone.
Yeah.
As I don't have a dog, my opinion on this isn't fully formed yet,
Totally get that. Or maybe more direct. My position on this is clear. People must clean up after their pets at the beach.
And I'd say my stance on taking pets to the beach is that everyone should be responsible.
So you see phrases like my take on it, my opinion on, my position on, my stance on.
They all basically mean, here's what I think.
Exactly. Different ways to introduce your viewpoint. And that tone, that intonation, really shapes the message.
It really does. Now, sometimes, those simple phrases aren't quite enough. You need something with a bit more punch.
You mean idioms?
Precisely. Idiomatic expressions. They paint a clearer picture.
Okay, let's look at a few the students worked on. First up, I'm against IT.
Simple enough. Means you disagree. Like, sou contra in Portuguese.
Yeah. Like if someone suggested letting my prize-winning hound dog, Daisy, run loose in the studio during recording, I'd say, I'm against it. Definitely. Allergies,
Allergies, right.
Okay.
Okay, next. To pick a fight.
Ooh, sounds confrontational.
It is. It implies someone's deliberately trying to start an argument. Looking for trouble.
Not productive.
No. You must avoid that if you want a good discussion. Think about, the great interviewers, like maybe Oprah or someone. They ask tough questions, but they don't usually pick a fight. They're looking for understanding.
Good point. Okay, how about to have a bone to pick with someone? Sounds a bit old-timey.
It does. A little. But it just means you're annoyed about something and need to discuss it. You have a grievance.
Okay. Like, if my neighbor promised to fix that fence last week and it should have been done, well, I might have a bone to pick with him.
Exactly. You might feel that way about a colleague missing a deadline, for instance.
Gotcha. All right, next one. To go around in circles.
I think we've all been in conversations like that.
Haven't we just?
It means the discussion isn't going anywhere. Just repeating the same points, no solution in sight.
Frustrating.
Very. We must try to avoid that in our classes and, in life.
Good advice. And the last one.
To add fuel to the fire.
Colocar lenha na fogueira. I know that one.
Yep, that's the Brazilian Portuguese equivalent. It means making a bad situation, like an argument, even worse.
By saying something you probably should not say.
Exactly. Like pouring gasoline on a campfire, as you said, makes a small problem much bigger.
Right. Good ones to know. Both to use carefully and maybe to recognize when others are using them.
Definitely. Understanding idioms is key to, really getting the nuances of conversation.
Well, speaking of arguments, sometimes you just need a moment. Need to cool off, let things sink in.
Mm-hmm. Like taking a little break on a long drive across the plains.
Exactly. So let's take a quick pause right here, like a quiet moment before the next chorus in a song.
Nice one. And when we come back, we'll recap these ideas and then dive into how our students applied them in their writing, especially about a new law in Brazil.
Sounds good. Stick around, folks. Welcome back to the deep dive. Hope you had a nice little break there.
Hope so. Before the break, we were getting into how to shape and share your opinions, using strong language, those colorful idioms.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's all about making sure your message isn't just, heard but really understood.
Exactly. Speaking of understanding, I heard a little joke the other day.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
Why did the grammar book break up with the dictionary?
I don't know why.
Because it couldn't find common ground for expression.
Huh. That's pretty good. Gets right in.
Thought you might like it. So yeah, communication is key.
Okay, so quick recap then. We talked about expressing your take on things, saying if you're against it.
Without going around in circles or picking a fight.
Right. And definitely trying not to add fuel to the fire.
Okay, so before you can really defend your own ideas strongly, you kind of need to understand the other side, right?
Makes sense. Know what you're arguing against, or maybe find common ground.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our students, they grappled with this. It starts with looking at different viewpoints.
Right. They read a passage, dog ban, for and against, about a city deciding whether to ban dogs from beaches.
Mm-hmm. And the argument for the ban, what was that about?
Well, it focused on dogs maybe harming little creatures, bothering tourists, pollution, the mess.
Okay.
The idea was dogs should be banned to keep beaches peaceful and clean, sort of an environmental and public convenience angle.
Right. But then there was the other side, the argument against.
Yeah. That side argued the beach is perfect for dogs. Open space, exercise, fun, leads to happier, healthier pets.
And owners, presumably.
And owners. Plus, they argued it might even attract tourists who like bringing their dogs, which helps the local economy. So dogs should not be banned.
So it really sets up that classic dilemma, doesn't it? Balancing pet enjoyment with public responsibility.
It really does. It's tough. You think, well, yeah, clean beaches are important. Dogs should maybe be kept off. Back in the day, maybe things were looser. But now we think about ecological impact, public health.
Mm-hmm. Times change.
But then you hear the other side. A happy dog might mean a happy owner, maybe more tourism. It's those pros and cons again.
Definitely weighing the pros and cons.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how different places handle it. You mentioned France and Germany.
Yeah. Some places are stricter. Others really roll out the welcome mat for dogs. Different cultures, different priorities, I guess.
Fascinating. But the key takeaway for the students, and for you listening, is that understanding both sides, the for and the against, is crucial.
Right. Helps you form your own opinion and defend it better. See the whole picture.
Exactly. Okay, so moving from understanding arguments to making them. The students applied these skills to a really current topic.
Yes. The writing exercise. About Brazil's new National Registry of Domestic Animals, Law 15.0462024.
Very real world. The task was basically summarize the law and then give your opinion. What are the pros? What are the cons?
A perfect setup for using should, must, might, and weighing advantages and disadvantages.
Absolutely. They really had to think critically. Animal welfare, public health, responsible ownership.
Versus concerns about data privacy, how it'll be enforced, and that ever-present worry about taxes down the line.
Exactly. So let's look at what they came up with. How about Douglas's first draft?
Okay, Douglas. He seemed pretty positive overall, called it a game changer for finding lost pets and stopping abuse. He saw the pros, like promoting responsible ownership.
But he flagged concerns too.
Oh, yeah. Definitely mentioned data privacy worries and that fear of future taxation. He finished by saying it could be a double-edged sword if it's not transparent.
Double-edged sword. Good idiom use there. He really got the pros and cons structure.
He did.
To make it even stronger, he might have maybe linked the law more directly to helping animal shelters, tying that into responsible ownership, but using that idiom. Spot on.
Okay, what about Mario?
Mario's draft was also well-structured. He jumped right into the law's details, what data gets collected.
Right.
He clearly felt it should encourage better pet care, disease control, maybe even stop illegal pet sales. But he also voiced strong concerns.
Like what?
Government overreach, misuse of personal data. He really tapped into those citizen fears about future taxes, even though the law itself doesn't impose fees right now.
So he focused on the potential downsides.
He did, quite effectively using the vocabulary. Maybe he should have emphasized those specific tax fears even more, since that's a big public anxiety. And he might have explicitly used phrases like enhanced vaccination campaigns when listing the benefits.
Okay. And Reynaldo. Assuming Reynaldo is a third student mentioned in the writing draft section.
Ronaldo took a very analytical approach.
Yeah.
He laid out the law's goals clearly, finding lost pets, tracking diseases, preventing abuse.
Saw the upside.
Definitely. Used terms like accountability and enhancing public health. But like the others, he didn't ignore the drawbacks.
Privacy, taxes.
Yep. Privacy concerns, potential future taxes, and also the burden it might place on smaller towns or cities that don't have many resources for enforcement.
Good point. Practicalities.
Exactly. His reasoning was solid. He used accountability and public health tool well. He could perhaps have elaborated a bit more on why things like strong legal protections for data are so crucial, or maybe suggested specifics about anonymized access.
It's really fascinating, isn't it? Seeing how each student tackled those pros and cons, used the language.
It really shows their thinking process.
Yeah.
And it brings up that bigger question again. How do you make laws like this work for everyone without being, too controlling?
Yeah, that balance between control and freedom. It's a classic debate, always must be considered when making laws.
Indeed. A historical and ongoing challenge.
All right. So we've talked about the words, the arguments, the writing.
Yeah.
But how does it all sound?
Pronunciation. Crucial piece of the puzzle. It's not just what you say.
But how you say it, making your English clear, confident. Our students have been working hard on this.
We really focus on specific sounds, specific words that, they should be pronounced carefully, especially ones that can cause confusion.
Let's practice a couple that came up.
Okay. First, spread. Like the news of the new law began to spread quickly. Spread.
Got it, spread.
Then law. As in, the new pet law is for everyone. Law. Notice that open sound.
Law. Yeah, different from claw or paw.
Exactly. And here's one that needs real care. Bitch, meaning a female dog.
Right. Important distinction.
Very. The sentence was, the dog trainer told us that bitch means a female dog. Bitch. You must distinguish it clearly from beach.
Beach has that long E sound.
Right. Bitch has the short key sound, like in sit. Getting that wrong, could be awkward. Clarity is key.
No kidding. And it's not just new words, right? You revisit old ones.
Oh, absolutely. We always review sounds from past classes, make sure they stick.
Smart.
We look at tricky pairs like cob and cub or leapt and sleep. Those small differences in sound change the whole meaning. Regular practice. It must happen.
So important. But here's something else, something really interesting. It's not just the individual sounds.
No, you're right. What else?
It's the flow, the rhythm, the pace of your English. Like a good country song needs the right tempo.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Yes, the pace of speaking is vital. That's a big question for our students. Are you practicing your pronunciation and your pace?
It makes a huge difference in sounding natural.
Huge. So the teacher identifies common mistakes for Douglas, Mario, and Chago, maybe speaking too fast or too choppy. And then we give them texts to practice with. Texts that use the new vocabulary.
Puts it all together.
Exactly. Helps them evolve. For instance, they practice with a story called A Rock, a Plant, and a Dog. Who needs more care?
Okay.
And that text was packed with words we've discussed. Spread, cub, claw, paw, soil, low, grow, flow, blow, law.
So they see the words in context in a story.
And they practice saying them with a natural rhythm. It shows how even simple words must be understood and spoken clearly within the flow of conversation.
Excellent. That practical application is key.
It truly is.
Well, folks, we're kind of getting to the end of our deep dive today, and what a journey it's been, eh?
It really has. Looking at Group T247, Douglas, Mario, Chago, you can really see the development.
Incredible progress.
Yeah. If you connect it to the bigger picture, their ability to give opinions, defend ideas, using should, must, might, weighing pros and cons, it's a clear sign of growth.
They're really moving towards that B1 level in the CEFRL framework.
Absolutely. Their conquests, their achievements are definitely something to celebrate.
And hey, for all you students listening out there, remember, learning doesn't stop when class ends.
Oh no. Homework time.
Yeah. But think of it like this. Little practice now, and you might just surprise yourself by next class, like tending a garden. Keep watering it.
Good way to put it. Consistent effort pays off. And our methodology here at Academia BSB really emphasizes that continuous learning.
That's right.
Which reminds me, let's quickly share those bibliographic references again. If you want to read more about that new pet law we discussed, you can find the law itself at planalto.gov.br under Law 15.046 of 2024. And there's a helpful Q&A article on the gov.br Planalto News section from April 2025 about the RG for dogs and cats. Just search for those terms.
Great resources. Check those out. And get ready, because your next linguistic adventure looks pretty exciting.
Oh yeah? What's coming up?
Next class, more modal verbs must, might, should. We'll keep practicing those. But also tag questions.
Tag questions. Fun. This raises an important question, doesn't it? You should know how to ask if something is true, shouldn't you?
Exactly.
We'll explore how to use them to confirm things or maybe show just a little bit of doubt.
Yeah.
Naturally. Like, if we say a dog should always be on a leash in public, how would you make that a tag question?
Ooh, good one. Well, that's a question that must be answered next time, isn't it?
Tease.
Gotta leave them wanting more. What do you think, folks? Should all pets have a national ID? Or does that tap into a deeper philosophical question? Freedom versus security.
You know, it really does. It goes beyond just grammar or specific laws. It touches on these, well, profound philosophical discussions of our time.
Like what?
Like the balance between individual liberty and the collective good. The role of data, information in modern society. Our shared responsibility to the environment, to animals, to each other.
Wow. Yeah, big ideas.
They are. And language, English, is the tool that allows us to participate in these grand dialogues. Because, as we always say here at Academia BSB,
It is not only about the language.
it's all about communication.